Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Robert Phoenix, and I am broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg. It is the 20th. Let's see, my gosh, I'm off a day. It's the 23rd. The date of the show says the 22nd. My apologies. I'll fix that in post production. Good morning. How is everyone? Getting a bit of a late start today, which is ironic because I actually got up so early today. I'm working on a new model of sleep. It's the new sleep paradigm, and which is kind of an older model of the sleep paradigm. Go to bed really early. I'm thinking about going to bed around like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and getting up around maybe 3:34, so I can get a bunch of work done in that morning time, because it just feels like the days are just like zipping by like a bullet train every single day. So I've got to get productive. This is a productive year. It's a Capricorn year. I've got goals. Let's check in with Chatlandia. There's Judy and Beth. Hey, good morning. There's Joan. Good morning, Joan. And let's see, Denise. Glenn. What's going on, Uncle Glenn? And then Ani. Of course, there's Ani. The sheriff is in town. Ani Vito. Uh-oh. The giant is stirring. What that means. No. Jasper and Rosie have these new cat beds that I've got for them, and they just absolutely. And of course, Jasper has been knocked out on the cat bed all morning until I decided to start to do the broadcast, and he knows that that's his cue. Let me just check some preferences here. Make sure that we're good to go. Let's see, we got.
Let's do this. Testing 1, 2. A little bit of a different tone there, no doubt. Right. There we go. So we got the headset happening. Anyway, so how is everyone this morning? Jasper is in fine spirits, of course, and there he is. The astrological cat has made his entrance, so I get to focus on Jasper while I'm focusing on this. It's called multitasking. A lot going on out there. There's a lot going on. So one of the things that somebody sent me this crazy meme yesterday, which I have to find now. This is maybe I'll do a little astrology today. We're in Aquarius. It's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius. Da 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 da. Let's see, where is that crazy ass meme? Yes, Jasper, you're so precious. Everybody loves him. Where is that meme? I know where it is. Give me 1 second. You guys got to see this. It is freaking hilarious. All right, hold on. Okay. There it is. There she blows. Here we go. This is so funny. But it's not just funny. It's one of those memes where you're like, what? It's like a what meme? All right. So let me just kind of set the stage. Have you ever seen Chuck Schumer's wife, supposed wife? By the way, Chuck Schumer, when he's in Washington, he shares a place in Georgetown with these two other senators. And I got to tell you, the place looks like a shithole. It's like it's three dudes living in a flea bag together. When I saw it, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is where you live when you're here and you share this? Like how are you paying on this place? Maybe you could afford to get a maid every now and then. All right. So when I saw pictures of his wife, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is his wife? This looks like a dude. Well, well, well. What do we have here? Iris Weinschall, the City University of New York, looking very thick-necked and dude-like. Here we have Iris again, looking like a cast member of Saturday Night Live in drag. Here again. And what do we have here? We have Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, looking very much like our esteemed senator from New York State, right? Mr. Chuck Schumer. What the hell is going on here? I mean, for a minute, it looked like Mike, what's his name? Mike Myers, like a thick Mike Myers. But when you see the Vindman face, like, look at this. Look at this. I mean, are we looking at the real identity of Chuck Schumer's wife? This thing is totally bizarre. Iris Weinschall. God. The world we're living in, it's so insane. It's crazy. It's kind of like cool weird, but it's insane. This morning I was watching the ticker, and I was looking at I was watching sports, and the ticker, and one of the stories was the Philadelphia Flyers mascot is being under investigation for assault and battery, right? So the Philadelphia has a history of like bizarre mascots. Like they broke ground with the Philly Fanatic, and eventually everybody wound up loving the Philly Fanatic because it was such a weird mascot. And now they have this mascot called Gritty, which is the Flyers mascot. Apparently, Gritty supposedly punched a 13-year-old at a public event. I think it was like in August or September or something like that. And it's not anything newsworthy, but it's like, just think about it. You've got a mascot under investigation for punching a 13-year-old. I mean, the whole thing it's just bizarre. It's indicative of like just the bizarre world that we're living in, and the backdrop, of course, is this bizarre dog and pony show known as the impeachment trial, the impeachment process. And then, of course, you have the bizarre dog and pony show known as the Democratic debates, and the people who are staggering to the finish line, none of which are impressive at all. Not at all. And so the rumor on that is that supposedly Michelle Obama, I heard Michelle Obama now is going to be drafted as the candidate. It's one of those, I mean, we heard this last time, but it's starting to kind of percolate again. Of course, there's Hillary lurking around the background, but there's no way Hillary can win this election. There's no way, unless they unless they completely rig it 100%. There's no way she can win the election, which is why they're doing everything in their power to derail the locomotive express known as Donald J. Trump. Of course, Trump and the family have been in Davos, where they get together and plan out how they're going to rule the world for the coming year. So very interesting sort of updates there. Ivanka was on a panel. I'll give you a picture of Ivanka. We're going to get to the big story today, which is the coronavirus stuff. I'm going to bring that in. In fact, I'm pushing some of the AI material out to cover the coronavirus thing. So here is Ivanka looking an awful lot like that tech sex robot. Apparently Ivanka had a nose job, maybe a few other jobs, but she certainly had a nose job. Anyway, she was at Davos, and one of the things that she talked about is this idea, this gets into some of the post-human material, is this idea that because of the fact that we're all going to be staring down automation, AI, synthetic sentience. I should bring Charles on the show one of these days. I used to have Charles Osman on my show over on Blog Talk Radio a lot. Charles is a brilliant guy. He'll give you the front row, the absolute front row, on what's happening with AI. I'll see if I can reach out to him and bring him on the show. Anyway, so Ivanka was talking about how people are going to lose their jobs. I mean, now this is starting to finally percolate to the surface. People are going to lose their jobs. And they will, because of the automation of things. And one of the things she talked about was how it would be great if the governments had a in-depth database of every single person in the country. They knew what their skill sets were and had their work history. Well, it probably wouldn't end there. It probably also would be something along the lines of, various test scores, blood type, medical history as well. That would have to be in there, and maybe even some psychological profiling. So the idea here would be to be able to have this massive database at their disposal so that they could link you up with a position that would match your skill set. Now, on the surface, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this happens quite frequently when you go to, say, employment agencies, although they'll try to steer you into either jobs they have open for you or things that theoretically you might be qualified for, or when you go to like take college placement exams, and not placements like in terms of where you're going to place with your SAT or whatever, but these vocational batteries, which tell you very very specifically about 3 different things that you're well suited for. So these things are not uncommon. The difference here is that Ivanka is championing this as an exercise in an entity that the government would be in charge of. I mean, think about that for a moment now. Think about how huge of a project that would be, and where that really where that comes from. That comes from a place that's probably more in alignment with being an internationalist, or the government being, again, sort of this well, that's a lot more government, isn't it? And that's kind of what we're wanting to move away from. We want to move away from more government. We don't really want the government to have access to our job history, our grade history, or academic history, stretching all the way back to elementary school, the so-called record, which exists for people. And yet she believes that this is a good idea. Now, the thing about Ivanka and Jared, I'll have a little bit more on Jared here, is that Ivanka is a dyed-in-the-wool progressive globalist. Ivanka's a globalist. She has her businesses overseas. She's big in Japan, as they say. Probably has some manufacturing interests in China. So she's a globalist. And before globalists were known as globalists, they were known as internationalists. And internationalists were always tainted with the sort of the red hue of communism and socialism, because socialism and communism was the sort of the nouveau solution to linking the world together under one fair and just economic model. So Ivanka is an internationalist at heart, which means she's basically a socialist at heart. And this is somebody who is very close to the president, who is driving policy. And don't get me wrong, Ivanka's smart. She's no dummy. She is no dummy. But do have to kind of reconcile the fact that Chelsea Clinton's one of her best friends. Now, Mr. Ivanka, let's bring him back up here. Got news on him too. There he is. Is that not one of the scariest pictures you've ever seen? That is a really freaking scary picture. The unusual power of Jared Kushner. Well, what is that unusual power? Based on his shape and form, I think we can begin to maybe discern what that unusual power might be. Anyway, the reason I've propped up Mr. 666 Fifth Avenue is that apparently they're going to be launching the Middle East peace program. That's kind of the buzz now at Davos. And the idea here is for a one-state solution. And they've been doing a lot of back channeling, apparently, with the various Palestinian groups, which were really started by the Israelis. If you drill down and kind of do the math on it, so Hamas was started by the Israelis. The PLO isn't really the same, right? It doesn't have the same weight as Hamas anymore. Anyway, the idea here is to create a one-state solution, and that Israel would basically run Gaza and the West Bank as well. There would be no more Palestine. There'd be no more Gaza. They'd be subsumed into the nation state of Israel. And apparently, the idea here is that they would essentially say, here's the deal. You either take the deal or we're going to hit you with sanctions so hard that you're going to come begging to us on hands and knees. And when you do, the deal won't be as good the second time. That's essentially what they're going to be offering. Now, Netanyahu has to get this deal done because he's coming up for election, his third election. I mean, again, this is the screwy thing with the so-called democratic state in the Middle East. 3 elections. It's like you kind of lost last time. You didn't have as many votes. Oh, sorry. There's this other group that has 10 votes that could swing either way. You've got to build a coalition government. But he needs this. Netanyahu needs this. Because if he can swing the Mideast peace deal and do it before March, which is not that long from now, so you know that they're going to have a big meeting. I believe it's next week in Israel. It's like some sort of Zionist Congress deal. Everybody's going. Everybody's going. Putin's going to be there. Trump's going to be there. It's a big international event. And I would assume that they want to use that event to table this deal. Like put it on the table and make it sound so great that if the Palestinians don't take the deal, then they're going to be the ones that are going to be looking at like they're impeding the process. So get ready to start reading about this. It's going to happen quite soon. Now, the other part of this plan is that they're also going to annex part of Jordan. And so they're going to get part of Jordan as this deal as well. So what we're seeing now is the expansion, which is, in the Yadam plan for the expansion of Greater Israel, and ultimately to take over the majority of the Middle East. I mean, this is not an inconsequential plan or an idea, and they're kind of at the beginning stages of it now, and they have a president who is fully behind this idea of expansion. And they have enough people in Congress, and of course, AIPAC is one of the most powerful lobbies in the United States. So there'll be more and more backing for this. Now, this is an expansionist model. And there are already people on college campuses who have some real issues with the current state of affairs in Israel, the Palestinians, and that's the BDS movement. And they're doing everything they can to slow that down and even truncate free speech on college campuses. Trump passed the executive order, which can cut off funding for colleges and universities if they allow the BDS activities or BDS events to take place on those schools. So you're going to start to hear about Jared Kushner very, very quickly. And the reason I bring this up is because, and by the way, these things don't happen in a vacuum. Like Time Magazine does not put him on the cover of Time just because they didn't have anybody else to put on the cover of Time. And the stuff is thought out, planned out well in advance. Just like Jasper plans his show every night before he comes up here. Isn't that right, Jasper? Isn't that right? Yes, that's true. No. Commentary from Jasper today. The wise meows of Jasper. Guess who else is at Davos? So I can get this bigger. Give me 1 second here. Make it bigger. Here we go. Ah, of course. Greta Thunberg. Look at that face. Look at that face, man. That is one of the most gnarly, screwed up faces. Like if you were to look at that face, what would you infer from that face? I would say that was like a crazy person. That to me would be like the face of somebody who's slightly insane. And it's also quite interesting that she's adopted this kind of very austere sort of peasant wear, which she probably paid about $300 for. No, it's probably cheaper than that. But you know what I mean? Look at the colors of gray pants, gray shirts. She's got this sort of pinky beige top. Yeah, I know how you feel about her. Anyway, Greta over there at Davos as well, because she's an important individual. So what we have now with Trump is we have people very close to him who are driving significant policy. The USMCA, apparently, Jared Kushner had his hands all over that. I haven't really looked at the USMCA. Maybe one of these days I'll do a show on it. Apparently, they managed to kind of reboot NAFTA, slip in the TTP, and also throw in some new green economy stuff in the USMCA. I'll spend some time with that, but that's the word on the street, and it makes sense to me that they would have contained those elements because the Democrats signed off on it so quickly. I mean, if it was right heavy, Trump heavy, they would have signed that bill. But these are the people that are surrounding Trump and pushing policy and pushing decision. And keep in mind, they are internationalists at heart. Meanwhile, Trump continues to bang the nationalist drum, sort of the 1-2 punch. And it's going to be an interesting year. I wanted to talk about the coronavirus. And I know a lot of you guys are really hip, but I wanted to bring I just wanted to, because there's some interesting things happening, I guess, interesting. So one of the, let me see if I can find this article real quickly. I've got 2 versions of it. I might want to use a different one. What do we have here? Let's see. I don't want that. Did that. Keep that up. Let's shut that down. this. Let me get this. Let me just see here. All right. Let's start here. I'll just use this one. So let's take a look at the city that created this virus. In Wuhan, which I think is about 15 million people, they have their version of Plum Island, which is off the coast of, is it Plum, Connecticut? Plum Island, off the coast of Lyme, Connecticut, which is where supposedly Lyme disease. It's a lab where they create nasty shit. It's their Pandora's box lab. So the Chinese have one too, and it's in the heart of Wuhan. So this is from Big League Politics. Chinese mad science viral pandemic starts in Chinese city with a research lab for world's most dangerous pathogens. A deadly coronavirus called the Wuhan virus, because that's where it was created, has spread to the United States. Now, supposedly, patient 0 is a guy who was picked up in Washington State. Let's read this a little bit. The patient came back to the U.S. from Wuhan, China on January 15th. He was displaying no symptoms at the time, according to the local and federal officials who made the public announcement, but became sick the days after he initially returned. Dr. Scott Lindquist, who works as Washington State's epidemiologist for communicable diseases, said the patient is in stable condition but is still being isolated in a hospital. Out of an abundance of precaution and monitoring, passengers at several airports are going to be screened for the virus moving forward. Okay, so this is a whole different story. But so Wuhan is the place where this virus has originated from. And not just this virus, but there are a number of other viruses as well. Let me go over here because I think I've been looking up some search stuff here. This is another story. This is the one I wanted to show you guys. I mean, I think that was sufficient to give you kind of an update on the American side of things. So let's go here. This is from the nature.com. Inside the Chinese lab poised to study the world's most dangerous pathogens. This is from the 27th of February, about 2 years ago. And these are the hazmat suits. No comment. A laboratory in Wuhan is being cleared to work on the world's most dangerous pathogens. So this is just 2 years ago. The move is part of a plan to build between 5 and 7 biosafety level 4 labs across China, the Chinese mainland by 2025. That's a great idea. It's generating much excitement. Ooh, I can't wait till we create some deadly biopathogens. Sounds like a good time. As well as some concerns. Some scientists outside China worry about pathogens escaping. Well, you think? When was this? 2017. Recent. Let's see. In the addition of a biological dimension to geopolitical tensions between China and other nations, some people are weaponized, man. People become bioweapons, right? The Chinese microbiologists are celebrating the entrance to the elite cadre empowered to wrestle the world's greatest biological threats. The world's greatest biological threats are the evil minds that create the viruses. That's the greatest biological threat. It will offer more opportunities for Chinese researchers, and our contribution to the BSL-4 level pathogens will benefit the world, says George Gao, director of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, key laboratory pathogenic microbiology and immunology in Beijing. There are already 2 BSL-4 labs in Taiwan, but the National Biosafety Laboratory, Wuhan, would be the first time on the Chinese mainland. It's a big city, Wuhan. Well, guess what? It's in lockdown now. The BSL-4 is the highest level of biocontainment. Its criteria include filtering air, treating water and waste before they leave the laboratory, stipulating that researchers change clothes and shower before and after using lab facilities. Such labs are controversial. The first BSL-4 lab in Japan was built in 1981, but operated with low-risk pathogens until 2015, when safety concerns were finally overcome. That's a weird statement, isn't it? Like overcoming safety concerns, you've got to overcome them. Be better than the safety concerns. The expansion of BSL-4 lab networks in the United States and Europe over the past 15 years, with more than a dozen in operation or under construction in each region, also met with resistance, including questions about the need for so many facilities. Like, why do we need so many of these things? Why do we need so many of these BSL-4 labs creating these viral carriers of doom? I mean, I could probably answer my own question, but the Wuhan lab cost 300 million yuan, which is 44 US million. That's a bargain. Until lay safety concerns, it was built for above the floodplain and with a capacity to withstand a magnitude 7 earthquake. Well, they didn't do a very fucking good job now, did they? There it is. There they are. Look at that. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. But this is ground zero right here. Any comments? Comments are now closed. Gee, I wonder why. There are currently no comments and they're closed. So basically, this coronavirus wound up starting in Wuhan because this is where this. Oh, interesting. Almost 2 years ago to the day, right? Almost 2 years ago. We've got next month is the 22nd of February, 23rd. It's almost 2 years ago to the day that this story came out. About 30 days away. Now, what's the timeline here? Let me see if we can find the timeline. Here's the timeline. So the official timeline, 12/8/19, onset of symptoms, first cluster of victims, later reported to the WHO on January 12th, ground zero, seemingly Hunan seafood wholesale market. So how does that happen? More than likely, somebody from that facility didn't decontaminate and went to the seafood market and bought some mussels and gooey duck or something like that. 12/31/2019, China first informs the WHO of cluster of pneumonia. So we're going pretty quickly here. This is 13 days. 13 days would be 21, so 23 days. Whistleblower. Chinese arrest 8 for spreading rumors about the dangers of the sickness usually described as pneumonia. No, the Chinese don't fuck around. You start talking about things and getting people kind of aware about what's happening, and that'll get you on a bus. The bus to nowhere real fast. Official 1/10/20, Dr. Wang Guangfa, who heads the Department of Pulmonary Medicine at Beijing's Peking University Hospital, spoke on China State Television that there was nothing to be concerned about. You've always got to be concerned about the nothing to be concerned about statements. Now we have the first death. That took place on 1/12, which is a mere 11 days ago. First death, 40 infected, reported to WHO. No further infected or officially reported until the 20th. Whistleblower, an asymptomatic man going for neurosurgery, infects 15 medical workers with coronavirus. This is brutal, right? Brutal. The guy didn't know it. The individual is now being considered as a super spreader shedder. That's not a title you want next to your name. Hi. I'm a super shedder. Could you imagine having that show up on Tumblr or Tumble or Rumble or Bumble? Traits, super shedder. Okay, what do we have here? The 14th, a number of journalists are detained and footage was deleted in Wuhan. On the 15th, Chen Min dies of coronavirus-like symptoms. Hospital refuses to test and pressure quick cremation. This is one of the many examples coming out of the region's potential victims purposely not being tested or diagnosed. They don't want people to know that this person had it. Oh, they got sick. We don't know why, and let's just burn the body. China finally signs U.S. trade deal. Oh, interesting. On the 15th. First known individual brings the virus outside of China, Hong Kong. On the 20th, 100 additional people are infected. That's what they're telling us about. Dr. Wang Guangfa is now infected. How about that? This dude up here who says there's nothing to be concerned about on the 10th, 11 days later, which is apparently the incubation period, now he's infected. He announces to cable television potential pre-symptomatic infectious phase, roughly 11 days. There's nothing to be concerned about, and now I might die. On the 22nd, Hubei province requests 40 million medical masks, 5 million sets of protective clothing, and 5,000 sets of infrared thermometers. So in 2003, the SARS outbreak, hundreds were infected and 5 were dead by the time Johnny Chen, the first individual to spread outside of China, Hong Kong, brought the disease to Vietnam on February 26th, 2003. I guess they like February to kind of ramp these things up. So there's your timeline for what's happened. I've got absolute more content here I want to share about it, but I want to check in with you guys and see what your thoughts are on this. Now, remember, I haven't covered the full thing yet, right? I haven't gotten into the conspiracy vaccine side of things, the fear side of things. I haven't gotten there yet. So I'm just kind of getting into, where did it come from and what's the timeline around this? So let me check in with you and see what your thoughts on the matter are, because you're all pretty damn smart. Let's see what we have here. Yonder event in his stream, Witch Trial Research has info on the Puritans, who are actually the Purim, a group he linked to Europe's Black Plague and North America Indian smallpox. Interesting. There were 19 different coronavirus patents that were filed before the outbreak started last year. Yes, I'm going to go through some of that as well. Well, add up all the numbers and you'll find 3s and 6s. The number of the club, fake as F, always 369. Okay, what else do we have? Cruise ships only safe place. I heard Madagascar was the only safe place, but that's a whole other story. It's not the virus that we should fear, but the vaccine. I was going to go over that as well. What else do you guys have here? Please go to Oppenheimer Ranch Report YouTube and go on to record snow falls quietly, timestamp. Diamond reports the new SARS virus was created in a lab a few years ago. He names it, right? So here's what I have on the coronavirus. Let's get back into it. Some of the patents, pretty easy to find. You can go to Justia and we can look at some of the patent material around the coronavirus. So this is from July 23rd, 2015. So we're talking 5 years ago. The present invention provides a live attenuated coronavirus comprising a variant replicates gene encoding polyproteins comprising a mutation in one or more of the non-structural proteins. So here we go. This is where the patent begins to come in. So these are all other patents, right? Attenuated African swine fever virus vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get into this a little bit. Background to the invention, avian infectious bronchitis, IBV. The etiological agent of infectious bronchitis is highly infectious, contagious pathogen, a domestic fowl, replicates primarily in the respiratory tract, but also in epithelial cells of the gut, kidney, and oviduct. IBV is a member of the order of Nidovirales, or the family of Coronaviridae, subfamily Coronavirinae, and genus Gamma coronavirus. Genetically very similar coronaviruses cause diseases in turkeys, guinea fowl, and pheasants. So here we have the summary of the aspects of invention. The replicase gene may encode a protein comprising of the amino acid and mutation proteolu. This goes on and on. This gets right into the structure of the coronavirus itself. Okay. Down, 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 description of the figures. I mean, if you want to just drill down into this thing, this is where it's at. The coronavirus is divided into 4 groups: canine, feline, human, porcine, transmissible gastroenteritis, and human coronavirus. That's the alpha. And then there's the beta, gamma, and delta. These are all ways that it can be procured and then theoretically transmitted. Here's the genome sequence. That's the genome sequence right there, the coronavirus. Look at that. Man, that is one hell of a block of code. Lots of code. So this goes into it pretty deeply. This is where the patents for the coronavirus exist. It's on Justia Patents, if you want to look it up. Right. This is the deep structure of the actual virus itself. This is where the patent is contained. So we're seeing, oh, come on. We're seeing the background of this virus. So so now we get into the vaccination method, which is the important part of all this, right? The vaccine, which is being ramped up now as we speak, they probably already have it together, but they're saying they're working on it now. So this goes into a lot of depth about the patent around the coronavirus. So we're talking 2015, boom, right? I've got some more information on that. Let's see, where's this? This is from, is this the latest piece here? Yeah, this is from 6 hours ago. This gives you kind of an update on where this thing is, again, based on the news that they're giving us. Cases of new coronavirus pneumonia disease rose to 571 on the Chinese mainland as of Wednesday midnight, including 95 in critical condition. Fatalities rose to 17. China's National Health Commission said on Thursday morning. Now, there are non-vaccine ways of dealing with this. So there are ways in which you can deal with coronavirus. Let's see if I can find some other stuff here. Yeah, this is what's happening now. Right here. So this is the vaccine for the new Chinese coronavirus in the works. This was from January 20th. So they're getting ready to pump out the vaccine. Of course, it's coming through CNN Health. Let's go right down here. A team of scientists in Texas, New York, and China are also working on a vaccine, according to Dr. Peter Hotez, a vaccine scientist at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. The lesson we've learned is coronavirus infections are serious, one of the newest and biggest global health threats. He added that it's less challenging to develop a vaccine for coronavirus than for other viruses such as HIV. Every virus has its challenge. Okay. So we're starting the year off with a bang, an evolving situation. This is Anthony Fauci, man not to be trusted. Fauci emphasized that there are still many questions about this new virus. This is an evolving situation, and it's tough to predict ultimately where it'll go. But we have to take it very seriously. So as the viral doom fills the air, there are ways that you can deal with the coronavirus that do not involve a vaccine. So I was talking with Glenn Streeter yesterday, and a lot of you know Glenn, and he's a big proponent of something called nanoxide, and that can be very helpful in terms of you want to keep your immunity up too. You don't want to get sick. And I was talking with Joan this morning, and Joan was talking about ozone. And if you haven't invested in ozone, you may want to invest in ozone, not just because of the uh, coronavirus, but ozone can be very, very helpful with healing other viral entities and other viral issues. So we don't have to jump into the frying pan because of this virus. There's other ways of being able to deal with it. I may try to get Glenn on the show tomorrow, and then maybe I'll have Joan do like a brief demonstration on ozone and how that works. That might be really helpful. If you guys don't know a lot about ozone, it's a really powerful tool in the toolkit, and Joan is kind of an ozone expert. So maybe I put something like that together for tomorrow, and an actual demonstration and stuff. Might be kind of cool, right? You guys might like it. Let's see. Let's check back in with you guys. I get ozone at my dentist. Carrie says that would be great. Dawn, I used to own an ozone machine. Ozonated water is excellent. Yep, got an ozone generator here. Yes, do it. Okay, so why don't we bring Joan on tomorrow if she has time? She's pretty busy on Fridays now, and maybe we'll go over the ozone solution. And if you're not hip to ozone, it's a pretty good thing to know about and understand. And you can do a lot with ozone. And apparently, this coronavirus thing, you knock it out with the ozone, which people probably aren't willing to do at a high quote unquote scientific level. All right, what else do we have here? Let me see if I can find some other stuff here. This is interesting. The Sun always likes to bring the conspiratorial angle in. And here's another one. It has nothing to do with control, but it has to do with economics. So this is coming from China. The coronavirus conspiracy accuses Big Pharma of starting a killer bug crisis as share prices soar and face masks sell out. This is another side of the story, right? You cannot deny this side of the story. Conspiracy theorists fear Chinese drug makers may be behind a shocking coronavirus outbreak. Okay, so now we're gonna put the heat on the Chinese drug makers after shares in pharmaceutical giants rocketed yesterday. The unfounded claims come after it was revealed that there are now 291 confirmed victims. By the way, Wuhan is blocked off. You can't get out of the city now. Think about that. 11 million people quarantined. This is pharmacist Liu Zhuzhen. Stands near a sign. Face masks are sold out in Shanghai. Oh yeah, I was going to make a joke about that, and I didn't read the caption. I was gonna say, oh, I can read Mandarin. Oh yeah, it says no more. We don't have any more masks. No more masks here. Sure enough, that's what it says. And there we go, wearing the masks in the streets of Beijing. Following the news, stocks in several pharmaceutical giants and the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges soared by their maximum 10% daily limit. Yangsu, Shuhan, Bioengineering, Shandong, Lukang, Pharmaceutical, and Hengrui Medicine were among the drug makers. They hit the maximum rise today. You have maximums there. Oh, interesting. Okay, today's gains also follow sharp rises in Chinese pharmaceutical company shares on Monday. Now big pharma theorists are bizarrely pointing the finger at the medical giants for causing the outbreak in the first place. Omar Kajaj tweeted, am I a nutball for thinking this could be a big pharma tactic to make money? Hashtag coronavirus. Omar, you are not a nutball. You are not a nutball. Welcome to the red pill pharmacy, Omar. So here you go. There's your symptoms with corona. Well, Traders One added, is it in the financial interest of any business, government, let's say big pharma, for example, to create viruses, diseases, or amplify existing ones? Just curious. Flat Currency wrote, is big pharma producing viruses just to sell their solution for profit? People are waking up, right? We're waking up because this is what's been happening. We've been seeing the absolute and utter failure of these institutions to provide any real solutions, and in most cases provide cul-de-sacs for people to be kind of herded into. And here we are, the 21st century, and you would think that, I mean, it could be a lot worse. I'll just, I'll tip a cap to being a lot worse. But here we're in the 21st century, and you would think that with all our technology, known and unknown, right? The technology that we have at our disposal, the technology that we don't have at our disposal, you'd think that maybe, just maybe, we'd be living in a society, in a civilization where we had a different kind of profit motivation and a different kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Impetus, right? A different impetus to make the world a better place. But unfortunately, it is through the creation of things like germs and bacteria and viruses and conflict between one another, war. These are all sort of these agents of chaos that we have to provide a solution for, right? It's really the Hegelian dialectic version of economics. Create the fucked up situation, then have the reaction to it, and then create the solution. So the Hegelian dialectic can be applied to economics as well. Some online, let's say images of long lines of people queuing to buy face masks were circulating widely on social media, Chinese social media. Some online vendors were even limiting sales of masks and hand sanitizers as demand surged massively. Somebody's making money. Somebody's making a lot of money. It looks like fun, doesn't it? China, the vision for the new world. Okay, what else do we have here? Let me see if I've got any other pertinent info that I could share. We got the inside the Chinese lab. We got the coronavirus. We got 15 minutes of flame. I think that's about it. Let me check in with you guys. Let's see. Problem, solution, divide and conquer. Robert, could you post a link to the Sun article? Absolutely. I'll put it in the show page here. There's a new venereal disease in Australia. Mm-hmm. Yep. Interesting. They are worse off than we are here, and that is saying a lot. Yes, that's true. And yet China is, always held up as this wonderful model for the West to aspire towards. And I'm not saying the West is anything great. We've got Democratic and progressive mayors in cities and governors in states that are essentially destroying the cities of America. And that's what they're doing, weaponizing the homeless, which I've talked about before. But again, I'm going to throw a little sunshine into this cloudy day as Jasper starts attacking my mic. No, you're not supposed to attack the mic, Jasper. You're not supposed to do that. Here's the great news. Guess what, people? We're waking up. I'm waking up. Well, I've been awake for a while, but awakening, you can always awaken even more, right? But there is a point where it's like, what do you do with the awakening? What do you do with it? And I think that's kind of where we are now. But clearly there's a ripple effect, and if you think about it, right? Like I've been tunneling down rabbit holes since the late 80s, around 88, 89. I really started to kind of go as deep as I could based on what I could find at that time. So what are we talking about? Like, 30 years, like 19, I was, so yeah, 30 years. I've been on this track for 30 years. The 90s were, you know, my dive into endarkenment, and went into a lot of very dark conspiratorial places, for that time. So, and there are people, that were ahead of me and have been doing this even longer than I've been doing it. And there are people that are coming up from another kind of chronological date or group of people. So there's this very interesting kind of widening of the birth of people that are waking up. And some people are just coming onto the scene now, and maybe the last couple of years, and welcome to the party. Just make sure you don't get herded off into some kind of bizarre area that where you think you found the answer, because that's really dangerous. When you think you found the answer, then you're setting yourself up for um, some trouble, some conflict, because then you'll find out you didn't have the answer. It's like, oh shit. Really? Okay. Well, apparently I've got a little more to learn here. And ultimately, I think what we'll find out is that life on this planet, in this domain, is very strange. It is very strange, and there are lots of things that we don't know about, or we haven't been able to really fully grasp and wrap our heads around. And there are a number of examples of kind of realities that confirm this. One of the things that I got into a little while ago was I was reading people's personal accounts when they would smoke salvia. And salvia is a very heavy hallucinogenic. And almost to a person, they all described a variation on the same thing. And they, almost all of them had this experience of like falling down and descending. But then almost every person who experienced salvia wound up identifying themselves as an inanimate object, and that they would be that inanimate object forever, right? And it's like, why is this showing up so consistently? Why are people, when they go into the salvia dimension, why are they all reporting basically that they're some inanimate object, like a garden hose or a coat hanger or a machine? Some people see themselves as being a machine, and they're just, pumping out machine-like things for eternity, And it gets to this idea that again, reality is a lot stranger than we understand, and probably a lot more plastic and fluid, and with many different levels of experience. So then I had this crazy thought, right? So what if the inanimate objects that we have are actually animate objects, and they're animated by people, right? That these are their souls, right? This is their, that they're going to be in that object for the life of that object. That this is their version of hell. Like this desk that I'm on is some poor bastard that didn't pass the right test, right? And then I had this crazy thought that in order to free everybody, you have to blow up the entire world and eliminate all the objects so we can all start over. That was just a crazy thought. And I wasn't on anything, trust me. But you have to go to that conclusion that all these people are trapped, which Salvia World talks about. Then, what do? You got to free them. You just destroy the inanimate objects. Um, but the world is stranger. The universe is much stranger than we can. And I bet you if I, took a random sample of you guys in the chat room, and you'd have some weird stories of stuff, right? Like weird shit that has happened to you, unexplainable stuff. And then what happens? We get trapped in this kind of mundane world of um, ephemera, right? This the new doom, or the new this, or the new war, or the new bitch fest between the left and the right, and this is all just the noise and the cacophony. And meanwhile, there's a whole different reality going on underneath all of it, and some of which can be very interesting, and some of which can be perilous if you take the wrong steps or make the wrong moves. But again, we're waking up, right? We're waking up, and part of the waking up process is being awake to the many dimensions of this experience, right? That's where it's at. That's where it's at. So, in ending today, stay awake, be aware, make sure that your dimensional experience on this plane of existence is a good one. And there's always the North Star in your chart. There's always the North Star inside of you. And that North Star is the Logos. It is the Most High. And when you allow that to become a living entity, it is the wayfarer of your life. It is the way shower of your life. And you can have a really interesting experience and also be free from a lot of this bullshit and not get caught up and tangled in the thorns of the day-to-day Sturm und Drang, as they say. All right, so I'm out of here. Stay awake, stay aware, stay strong. I'll try to get Joan on tomorrow, and she can do an ozone demonstration. So if you want to stay healthy and you want to explore ozone, you can check that out, and she'll run you through the whole thing. Okay. All right. So for today, Jasper and I say goodbye for now. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to step what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Thanks for being a part of 15 Minutes of Flame. I'll put these links in the show page today. Take care.